Well done.
Welcome to another episode of the Willie Morgan Show here exclusively on Football CFB. Before we start today, I've just announced the competition that if you follow Football CFB on Twitter and retweet my pinned tweet, you can win a signed copy of Willie's excellent book. There's going to be a lucky winner sometime soon, Willie.
Yeah, whenever you just let me know, and the book will be on its way to whoever wins it.
Before we start today also, there's a few people have got in touch from Scotland and they're doing a few charity initiatives. Would you mind giving them a wee shout out?
Yeah, I know that Storyburn Football Club, they're doing a fundraiser for mental health, and obviously wish you all the very best. I hope you raise lots and lots and lots of money. And also to Andy Young and Simon Donnelly, 300k walk. I don't think I could do that in a year, but they're doing that for Jackie McNamara's foundation. And again, lads, I hope you get good weather, it doesn't rain, and that you raise lots and lots of money as well. So good luck to all of you. Great causes there. And let's start our show as ever with the latest news in terms of Manchester United. The club are doing well since they've returned. They had a comprehensive win recently over Bournemouth, 5-2. Mason Greenwood getting all the headlines, the 18-year-old performing very well on the wing, funnily enough. What do you make of Mason Greenwood, Willie? I think he's the best forward we have. Now, I do rate Rashford, but I think Mason Greenwood looks like he could be a really great player. He's got everything. I just like what he does, how he does it, and can only keep our fingers crossed. So I hope Ollie keeps him in the team. That's number one. And I think he'll score goals. Well, obviously, he'll score goals for us. Just a good player. Another player that I want to talk to you about is Bruno Fernandes, an incredible impact since he came into Old Trafford. Just how much would you have liked to have played alongside him? Well, yeah, he's good. I think that Paddy Crand and George Best and Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton, well, they weren't too bad either, you know. So I don't think I really missed very much, but he looks good. And again, it's a breath of fresh air to have him in the team. And hopefully, you know, it's a building process for Ollie. And he's not going to do it overnight. Yeah, we'll have little runs, do this, do that. But it's going to take a few years before he gets the team how he wants it. Still defensively, you know, not great. And we need another, well, my opinion, you know, he would, no, we need a few more players. But yes, him, Greenwood, Rashford, and Martial, you know, he's come on a bit, he's a centre forward. And they're playing the lad on the left wing. He's not a winger. He's a centre forward. And if you play him in his proper position, he'll score goals. So we're not, you know, up front, we're not that bad. So hopefully they can keep it going. If they qualify for Europe next year, it would be great. Obviously, it would be brilliant. And there's no reason why we can't. I mean, Chelsea, they're not great. Spurs are diabolical. Mourinho's killed them off, so there's not a lot to beat, and hopefully we'll just keep on with the run. They're scoring goals, which is very important, and it was, you know, that was a philosophy of Samat. Doesn't matter if they score 6, as long as we score 7. That's all that matters. So I think, you know, he knows what he's got to do. I think we've got the right guy. I think Solskjaer is the right guy. Just give him time. You know, Alex took 5 years before he did anything. So give the lad time. And you know, the players want to play for him. They obviously like him. So we'll see where we go from here. One of the characters you just mentioned there, Jose Mourinho, former Manchester United manager, not working out for him at all at Tottenham at the moment. A lot of people in the press this week have questioned whether it's maybe time for him to go to international football where he's not working as regularly, because
it does appear from the outside looking in that the magic may be gone.
What magic? Callum, the magic. He's the most defensive manager that's ever been in the game. You know, he's a guy who never played. He couldn't play himself. And all he does is spoil. Same with Chelsea, okay, and we know they won, but they were dreadful to watch. Even the Chelsea supporters, and, I've got a few friends who are Chelsea supporters, said watching them was dire. Yeah, they get results, they eat them out, they just defence, and he did the same at Man U. He came here and turned us into a defensive team. He's gone to Spurs and done exactly the same there. I don't know what his thinking is. I really don't know what he's thinking. International manager. You don't want your international team just playing defensive and hoping to get a break. You want someone who's going to be creative and go forward and play proper football. Make it exciting. You don't want to win drab 1-0s, or you want it to be exciting and win. So whatever, good luck to him. Whatever he does, he keeps getting jobs, which is quite amazing, but he does. Good luck to him.
Obviously, one of his key men is Harry Kane. Would you, if you were in Harry Kane's position, being in that Tottenham team at the moment with, and as you've said, a defensive manager, would you be looking to move on this summer if you possibly could?
No, I'd be looking to move back to centre half, because he'll get more touches of the ball at centre half. He's killing Harry Kane. You can't have a natural goal scorer up there and getting nothing. He's got no ammunition. He's getting nothing. And people say, oh, well, he's not. It's just the way they play. I think if Mourinho stays there, Harry Kane will look to be on his bike and get somewhere else. I'd love him at Man U. I'd love Harry Kane up here. He's a goal scorer. And he'd be great up front for us. So, Ollie, if you're listening, get down there, pal, and get him signed.
I want to talk to you about some big characters today. We've talked in the past episodes about George Best, Sir Matt Busby, and a few others, but I want to touch on an Irishman, because we've got quite a few Irish listeners. They always get in touch and they always like to ask about their fellow countrymen. And that man today is Shay Brennan. Just tell us about Shay.
Shay Brennan. Oh, my God. We call it the Bomber. That was his nickname, the Bomber. He was the coolest guy you ever met. He was a big smoker. He smoked non-stop, and a big gambler. He played right back. When I joined, he was still right back. Shay. I remember one story about Shay that I'll tell you. It was the first game of the season at Old Trafford. We're playing Southampton. They had a guy called Ron Davis, the centre forward, and the little guy in the left wing was called John Sydenham. And he didn't really do much, but he was very quick. So we set off. Beautiful day. Bestie took a free kick. We got a free kick. Bestie took a free kick. I came in. I scored. We went 1-0 up. The sun was shining. 63,500. Everything was wonderful. At halftime, we were 4-1 down. And all that happened was Sydenham picked the ball up, just kicked it past Shay, ran past him, didn't beat him, just ran past him. 4 times, 4 crosses, 4 headers, Ron Davis. So we're 4-1 down at halftime. So we all go in and we're very quiet. And Matt didn't come into the dressing room at halftime. He didn't. You saw the gaffer at the beginning for a couple of minutes, and then at the end, Jack Crompton, the trainer, was there. So we go in, and we're all sat very quiet. And Jack said, Shay, where's Shay? So he looked in the bathroom and the toilets, and where we had the big bath. He's not there. We opened the dressing room door and we could hear him. It was a little corridor at Old Trafford at that time. And at the top of the corridor, they had a little telephone booth. And we could hear Shay. He opened the door and Shay said, "And what won the 230? What? Oh, okay. Well, I like 3 £20 doubles and a £20 treble on such and such." So Crompton is shut. "Shay, get in here. I won't be a minute, Jack." "Yeah, and I want a £20 win on such and such." He sat in this booth. Anyway, and the booth's only like 2-3 yards from the dressing room door. So we could hear every word as well. Anyway, he comes back in and Crompton is screaming at him. And he walked over to where he changed. He went into his pocket, got a fag out, lit the fag out. Now, there's only about 2 or 3 minutes left before we went back out. He lights the fag out and said, "Jack, what's the problem?" Crompton said, "Boy, kick him in the stat. He's murdering." He said, "Jack, he's having a good day. I don't want to upset him. You know, the lad's having a good day, you know." Then the bell went and I had to put his fag out. I went back out in the pitch. And if I'm correct, you know, Callum, I'm not quite sure. I think it was the last time Shay played. I think that was the last game. So, yeah, the bomber. He was a great, lovely guy. So, and he was actually a very good fullback. But this kid, who I said, all he had was speed, and he was very, very quick. So all you Irish listeners, I know Shay's not with us anymore, but he was a lovely man, and he was a very, very good player. But the coolest man in town.
And another interesting thing is, as well as our Irish listeners, we've also got plenty of fellow Scots, and quite a few people want to know about your experiences with Rod Stewart.
Rod, there's too much. Well, there's loads. I think one of the ones we came. This is when I'd finished playing. We were coming up to Scotland. I went down to London, and Rod had hired a private plane, and we flew up with his brother and 2 or 3 of his friends. Flew up to Scotland, and to watch the Scotland-England match. So we'd sorted all the tickets out. It wasn't a problem. We got picked up, went to a hotel, had some lunch, and then we went off to the match. And we're sat in the coach. The coach was right outside the entrance, main entrance. And we sat in the coach, and Rod said, "What would you be doing now?" I said, "Well, you know, I'll be getting a rub down or something." And, "Well, and what would you," and he's asking all these questions. And I'm saying, "Well, you'd be doing this, I'd be doing that." And manager's probably saying, "Oh," I said, "it'd be the greatest thrill of my life just to be in the dressing room before a match." So I said, "Oh, give me a second." Now, there's only about half an hour to kick off. This is now, it's 3 o'clock in those days, if I remember. It was about 2:30. So I got out the coach, I get the front door, and the lad on the door said, "Oh, Willie, yeah." I said, "There's any chance you could get a message to Jock?" Jock Stein was the manager of Scotland at the time. He said, "Willie," I said, "Well, just if you could, just tell him I'm here." "Well, do you need to?" I said, No. If you could just tell him I'm here." Anyway, he did. And Jock came out. So I'm stood outside. So he said, "Willie, can I do anything for you?" And I said, No. I said, "I've got Rod Stewart in the bus. We're up here. Is there any chance I could bring him in just to say hello to the lads?" He said, "Willie, it's 25-3. I said, "Well, He said, "Go on, hurry up. Go and get him." So I ran back to the coach. Rod, so he come run up, take us in, went into the dressing room. And he was like, well, obviously, as you would be. He was like a 5-year-old kid. And all the players were excited. I mean, we got Rod Stewart in the dressing room before the match. So they were all well chuffed. But Rod was, he just, it was a nice thing. But it was a nice thing for Jock Stein, because you just didn't do that. Again, another fabulous guy, great manager, one of the great managers of all time. But he let me take Rod in and said there was only, normally you went out about 2:45. There was only 5 minutes to them going out. So anyway, that was one of the things with Rod. Maybe never sure I'll tell you some of the things that we did. Some good, yeah, all good from Germany. And then one of the times we went down to Wales to watch Scotland play Wales. We'll do that in another show though, because it'll take too long.
In terms of Jock Stein as a person, you talked about him being one of the great managers. What was he like as a person in terms of having a conversation with him? Because he seemed from the outside, obviously I never had the pleasure of meeting Jock. Obviously sadly passed away now, as we know. He seemed like quite a fierce guy. Is that a true reflection, or was he actually quite mellow?
It was like sitting with your dad. He was so nice. And, you know, I first met him because I nearly signed for Celtic. Before I went to United, I actually came back up and went down to Celtic Park. Took my dad, which made his life. And Jock and Sean Fallon, I think Sean Fallon was the assistant manager or trainer at the time. And they took us around Celtic Park and they came in and they said, you know, will you come back up and sign for us? And this, you know. And I had thought about it. And in the end, that was twice, actually, or 3 times I nearly signed for Celtic. When I was 15, when I was 18, turning pro, and then when I was 23, when I went to United. So I didn't know him that well, but just chatting to him, it was like being your dad. He was like Busby. They were very, very similar. Very similar. And, you know, the move that would have been phenomenal when Matt retired was for Jock Stein to come to Old Trafford, not Leeds. Leeds were the wrong place. If he'd have come to Old Trafford, he would have been fantastic. So, no, he was just a nice man. He wasn't fierce. He was a nice man.
Do you have any regrets in terms of not signing for Celtic? Is that something you look back and wish you had done?
Wish I had done. Well, it was my choice not to. I say circumstances. It was only circumstances. At 15, I told you I was going to do the tour of England, pick up all the money, and then come back and sign for Celtic. That was the plan. And I broke a bone in my toe when at Burnley. We were the first club, and you know the rest. They was just so nice, and I decided, much to my dad's regret. He was gutted. And then the other 2 times, you know, having lived in England, it was difficult to come back. So would I like to have played at Parkhead? Of course. You know, funnily enough, all my pals in the village, they're all Rangers supporters. They want me to go to Rangers, but I said I can't. They wouldn't sign me at the time. They were all Rangers supporters, my pals. But regret, I don't. It would have been nice. It would have been. I don't regret, but it would have been nice. My hero was Willie Fernie. I don't know if you're too young to remember him, Callum, but Willie Fernie was an inside left, and he was fun. He could go past anybody, and he was my hero when I was a kid at school. Always wanted to be Willie Fernie. So, because at school in those days, when you're playing in the playground, you know, you all chose a name, who you wanted to be while you were playing football in the playground. And I say mine was always Willie Fernie. So, such is life, you know. I know, you know, I wouldn't change it now. It's nice. The people down here have been lovely. Chester's a nice place to live, and you know, nearly all the lads who came here stayed here. Nearly all of them. You know, some of the you know, when you look at the old Scotland team as well, Dennis, you know, some of the great players, Dennis, Billy Prem Tim McCallio. Tim was a great player. It was nice times, but they were all down here playing. You know, there's nobody in Scotland. So, no regrets. No regrets.
Staying on the theme of Scotland, John Bleasdale has contacted the show and he's asked, do you still keep up to date with Scottish football? And also there was a proposal in Scotland that it's a 12-team league. There was a proposal to increase that to 14. Do you think Scotland should have a bigger league than just 12 teams?
Oh, Callum, I don't really know. John, I do. I still obviously look at the results. I don't see any of it apart from the odd game that they have on the telly down here on Sky. I don't see it. I mean, it's very difficult up there. Lack of money, lack of support, for the clubs. It's hard. And gone are the days when you had the mines, you had the pits, and you had a conveyor belt of players coming through all the time, great Scottish players. Now it's just difficult, mostly there's no poor kids anymore as such. Anyone with anything, I mean, they get coached from 5-year-old. I mean, we never got taught how to play, he just played. He played in the streets, he played in the park, he played anywhere. And it's difficult for the clubs in Scotland it's difficult to survive. I think they're amazing that they do survive. 12 to 14, would it make any difference? I don't think so. They've spoke about for many years, as you probably know, John, of getting Rangers and Celtic into the Premier League here. And back then, it wasn't the Premier League, it was the old league, but they were still talking about it then. But it never came off, and I don't think it'll ever happen now. So I don't know. I think that so many foreign players, in England, by the way, there's so many foreign players here now, but Scotland more so. The homegrown talent, there's just not enough coming through. So it is difficult for clubs. So I hope that answers you, John. I hope that answers your question.
Grant, Campbell has asked, and we kind of touched on this earlier when we talked about Harry Kane, but he's got a very direct question. Do Manchester United need to sign a top-class centre-forward to win the league?
Grant, I sign him tomorrow. Harry Kane would do me. I sign him tomorrow. He's never going to score goals now at Tottenham because they don't attack. He would be great in our team, but we still need a few years. You're not going to do it overnight. You're always going to get little runs here and there, as I said, but he has to rebuild nearly all the team. I mean, Greenwood looks great, as we said. Rashford, Martial as well. But it's getting... we need a defence. We need a defence. You start from the back. And until that happens, we're always going to be thereabouts. But I don't think we're going to win the league in the next few years, sadly.
Michael has asked, did you get the chance to celebrate either Manchester United or Bolton's Division 2 title wins? From memory, Michael says he thinks you were injured on the last day in Bolton's case, and obviously he's referring to the issues with the dock in United's case.
Well, Michael, I think we need about 10 programmes to talk about the dock. I'll touch on them later. The Bolton one. No, yes, I was. I got injured on the Saturday. I can't remember where we were playing. I think it might have been Norwich, but I got injured, and I got a knee in my side, and the pain was excruciating. Anyway, then we were playing Blackburn at Blackburn on the Wednesday, and if we beat Blackburn, we got promoted. So I went in for treatment, obviously, on the Sunday and the Monday and the Tuesday. And, the pain is excruciating. So they said, "Oh, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. Won't be too bad. We'll strap you up." So they just gave me treatment from the Sunday through to the Wednesday, and then Wednesday night we went to Blackburn, and they strapped me up with a big bandage around my my body. And I went out, and when I first tried to run, and I hadn't done nothing from the Saturday. When I first tried to run, I thought I died. The pain shot through it. It was incredible. So I was only on the pitch about 2-3 minutes, and I had to go off, carried off. I went for an X-ray. I had 3 broken ribs, and they tried to play me with 3 broken ribs. They didn't even know they were broken. So no, but I did. No, I actually I was there, and I went on the pitch for a few minutes, and we did celebrate afterwards. And the same with Old Trafford, it was different because the problems with the dock had arisen, and they were very open. And no, I didn't play in the last game. That was him again. But I still enjoyed the fact the supporters were fantastic. They are fantastic. The Manchester United supporters, absolutely. And to this day, they're still the same. They're great. And they were wonderful. And they knew how bad it was. And without, I say it would take too long to tell you how he did it. He was clever. His nickname was the Rat. He wasn't that popular, so he did so many players, but it was a long time ago. But I still enjoyed the fact that we obviously came straight back up, won the league, and for the supporters, it was fabulous for them. So, no, I still enjoyed it. So, Michael, it didn't affect me too much. Although I wish I'd never left. I made a mistake. I just signed a new 6-year contract the year before. And I should have stayed, but I didn't anyway. So there we go.
Next one's from Derek. He's written in to say, I'm reading Ted McDougall's biography at the moment. In it, he criticises a number of big-name Manchester United players for not being friendly when he joined the club. Do you think this is justified?
Well, I was very friendly with him, so I don't know. Did I get a mention, Derek? I hope not. I got along great with Ted. He's a good guy. He wasn't, his goal-scoring record, where he was, I can't remember, was it Bournemouth or somewhere he played? Somewhere, was phenomenal. He just wasn't good enough for the first division, sadly. He wasn't good enough for the first division. But as a guy, Ted was a good guy. I didn't know anyone who didn't like him. I don't know who he's talking about. I mean, it was the old team still back then. So who he's talking about, I have no idea. I've not read his book. So maybe, Derek, if you tell me the names that he's, if he's named them, which I presume he has, maybe on the next show I can, once I know the names, I'll phone them up and ask them why they didn't like Ted. Anyway, wherever he is now, Ted, if you're watching this, I hope everything's good for you, pal. He was a good guy.
Lynn Cameron, very big fan of the show, always putting her questions in, which I love to see. She's a very simple question, but very effective. What's the funniest thing that ever happened to you when you were playing?
The funniest thing ever happened? Oh, my God. The funniest thing ever happened. I don't know. The funniest thing. I'll have to think about that. I'll have a think about it. The funniest thing. I don't know. It wasn't like, I don't know. I really don't know. You've stumped me. I don't have an answer, darling. I don't have an anscer. But I will think about it.
You speechless.
I will think about it. Yeah, the funniest thing. I mean, the funniest thing at play, the thing that keeps coming back was when I was at Burnley and we played against Manchester United and we beat them 6-1. I scored 2 goals And Andy Lockhead, our centre forward at Burnley, scored 4. And to this day, he's still miffed, and that's what, 50 years ago? Because I got man of the match and he didn't. And to this day, every time I see him, why did you get man of the match? That's a disgrace. I scored 4 goals. I say, yeah, but I made them all. So funny that I have to think of something that's funny. Something that wasn't funny was John Aston when I was at Man United. John had got a bad tackle, and Jack Crompton, who was the trainer, as they called him in those days, came on and put the wet sponge on, as they did in those days. Sponged him down and said, "You'll be all right." So he got him his arm over his shoulder. Said, "Just stamp it and it will be better." He actually had a broken leg. It wasn't funny for John, but he had a broken leg. And Jack's got him stamping. He said, get it better. So, sounds funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time for him. I'm still going to have to think about it.
A question from Manchester Vintage asking, tell me your feelings about the Milan 69 semi-final.
We were robbed. Absolutely robbed. The referee took a bung. Without a doubt, the referee took a bung because the ball was over the line for the second goal. We were 1-0 up. Dennis had put the ball in. I followed the ball in, and the ball was about, I don't know, at least a foot over the line. And the keeper dived back and scooped it out with his arm. And the referee, I turned to get hold of Dennis, to celebrate. And they played on. We were robbed. We should have gone back. That was the semi-final European Cup at the time. Yeah, we would have gone back. We would have won the final as well. No, we were robbed that night. So, heartbreaking.
A follow-up to that question from Jim Halfpenny. He's saying that the home leg is known by many as being the best Old Trafford atmosphere ever. Would you agree?
Jim, every time I walked out the tunnel onto the pitch, the atmosphere at Old Trafford was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Every single game. The crowd were amazing. Stretford End they were just fabulous. But the whole ground, 63,500, invariably it was full every home game, obviously. And the atmosphere was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal for every game. But we were robbed. Make no mistake, we were robbed. I know who the referee is.
Now,
he's probably living in a castle in Italy.
We're on to the last question now, but because we're very kind, Willie, in this show, we've got 4 questions in from the same person, and that's Johnny Red. First, okay. He's asking, out of all your teammates, who's the one that the first question is, who's the one you went on the lash with the most?
Johnny, of all my teammates, I didn't really drink that much back in those days. The only time you had a drink was on a Saturday night after the match, obviously after the match, when you went out. And the drinking, that was Bacardi and Coke was the footballers' drink back then. And the guys that I mated around with the wives, Paddy Crown, Dave Sadler, Dennis and I, and occasionally Alex Stepney and his wife. And invariably we'd all go out with Samat and Jean on the Saturday night. We used to go to a little Italian restaurant. You had to knock on the door and they opened a little window to see where you were before they let you in. It was a tiny little place run by a guy called Arturo. And we used to go there after we had dinner and Matt sang I Belong to Glasgow. That was his party piece. Him and Jim would go home, and then we'd go off to a club called Blinkers, which was just along the road from where we were. And we'd go there and meet up with Bestie would be there. They were a close-knit, they really, really very close. So on the lash, there weren't, I think Steppers was the biggest drinker. Alex liked to drink. And the rest of them was only basically on a Saturday night. So it wasn't a drinking culture. Even on the road, we got pictures and buy chocolates and ice cream. So it wasn't really a boozy club.
The next thing he wants to know is, which teammate would you have gone to for advice the most?
Would I have gone to had I needed advice? I never needed advice, Johnny. Who, as I said, we had a knit group. I said there was Crerand, Dennis, Stephanie, Dave Sadler, Bestie, and myself. So when we were on the road, that was a group. We went the pictures or went whatever we did. We had that little group. So, and we were all very close. I would probably have asked, if I had needed help or advice, I'd probably have asked Paddy.
The next thing he wants to know, and I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. He's asking, who did you admire most as a footballer from your teammates?
Amongst my teammates?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I've said it many, many times, Johnny. The best player I ever played with, for me, was a guy called Brian O'Neill. And you won't know who he is. He played at Burnley. And he was a right half. There was no midfield players in those days. He was a right half. And he fed me all. I sat in the wing, and he just fed me all day long. That was what he did. He was a super player, Brian. And then, of course, you got all the players at Old Trafford. They were all great in their own position. I mean, some of the greatest of all time. You got Bobby, George, Dennis, Paddy, Brian Kidd. Brian Kidd was a great player. Tony Dunn and Shea Brennan, the bomber who we spoke about before, two great fullbacks. Alex Stepney. Alex Stepney was unlucky. He was around at the same time as Gordon Banks, because Alex Stepney was a great goalkeeper, fantastic goalkeeper. So, it was just a privilege. It was a privilege. I enjoyed playing at Burnley and Bolton. Bolton were great. Ian Greaves was super manager. Harry Potts at Burnley was fantastic. But, I mean, Old Trafford was the holy grail. There's nothing to compare with it. The atmosphere, again, that we spoke about earlier. When I first walked out that first match, I couldn't believe it was electric. And it was just a privilege to play in that era, play with and play against some of the greatest players that ever lived. So I hope that answered your question, Johnny.
And his last one, 4 questions in all from him, is who's your best mate in your time in football?
I had 2. Apart from the obvious, don't forget, on a daily basis, we played after we finished training. I played golf with Paddy and Alex Stepney and Dave Sadler, Dennis. But my 2 big pals off the pitch and away from the club was Alan Ball and Jim McCalliog. Bolly and I, why? Because he hated Scotland, he hated the Scottish football team. Bolly. But he was my big pal and sadly missed. And say Jim McCalliog. Jim was lovely guy. But I made friends even up in Scotland when I was playing with Scotland. I had Andy Penman, Derek Johnson, Sandy Jardine, and they were all Rangers players. But Jim Baxter. When I had a testimonial, Jim Baxter came down, played in the golf day. Jim could drink, the Bacardi Kid, as he was known, but a great player. You know, it was an era of phenomenal talent. You know, every club had great wingers. Every club had great halfbacks. You know, Bobby Moore, Dave McCarthy. They're just relentless. There were so many great players in the game then, and no coaches, which made it a lot better.
Well, I have to say before we finish, we actually got a message in from Jim McCalliog and Debbie. It just said, we are both listening to the shows all the way from Bonnie, Scotland. We are enjoying them every week. I hope you are well, Willie. I hope you are well also, Callum. Stay safe, keep in touch, Debbie and Jim.
Well, that is very nice. I hadn't seen them for years, and they came down for Jim Holton's book launch and came back down to the house, and we had a few drinks together and caught up because we ended up in America together as well. So, and just before I go, I'd like to say hello because they turned up here yesterday, Richard and Francis Fraser. For you people in Scotland, you'll know what I mean. They got a mixed marriage. He's a Rangers supporter, she's a Celtic supporter. But they're still together. They've been together a long, long time. Anyway, they're great friends. They turned up here yesterday. They've been playing golf at the Mere, where I play, and called in with the grandson. So if you're listening, you two, I hope you're both well. So there you are, young man. Is there nothing else? I've not won the lottery or anything, have I? I'm going to have to...
Sadly not yet.
Okay.
But we can finish on a high, as I say, and remind everyone listening, if you go on to Football CFB's Twitter page, you retweet the pinned tweet, you get the chance to win a signed book from the man himself. And that book, as soon as we get to our next show, Willie will announce the winner by name, and we'll get that book sent to you, signed to you, and with a message that you want as well.
Okay. Hey, I look forward to the next one.